Thank you.
You've been following the events of the week as well.
Yes.
New development that we can see on the front page of the Standard today.
Yes.
You can tell us more because you're in that corner. What is really happening? What is this caucus? Defense of democracy. We can see some youth there in some fatigues. What is a way forward for Azimio? This is the beginning of the breaking of Azimio, because as they say, when you see these things, just know Azimio is just about to crumble. It's a house of cards.
I don't know. Kenyans seem to want to predict the future of Raila Odinga in a way that at times they say he needs to retire. At times they say, okay, it's about to pick his successor. Now they're saying he's moving away from Azimio. What I understand is that it is a rallying call, that we are spending. Azimio was a vehicle that was used for elections, and it performed the way you know. This one is now focusing on issues of defending democracy. And therefore it's like what they were calling resist in 2018. So this is the same thing. So it is not anything that anybody is running away. And even if it was to morph into MDD, the constituent parties that are there now will be able to discuss and agree on the way forward. So I would wish to advise Kenyans, if my advice will be taken seriously, that this is some of the movements in terms of trying to leverage on this democratic space of Kenya, and also to rein in the excesses of the ruling class. Because unless we do that, anywhere in Africa, we run the risk of inviting dictators into our space of democracy. Because dictators, as I've said before, are not made, they don't make themselves. They are made by their own supporters. Because they are made to believe that they are superhuman, they do things differently, they are the most intelligent in town, and they quickly move into areas that are not within their purview. For example, the issue of taxes. Who was the first to shout that everybody must pay taxes? It is provided in the law, and we expect that if there is anybody who has not paid his taxes, he will be informed officially through a letter or through any communication, but not in the court of public opinion, that there are two categories of Kenyans, tax evaders and taxpayers. It is the wrong notion, and it's not the right way to deal with issues of economy. Yep.
Right, and you can see the Raila's political vehicles there as Azimio. They're trying to put it right now. It's not the case. It is just a creation of media that Raila is about to dump Azimio. We are yet to see.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is just how he has gone full orbit or full circle in terms of coming up with new coalitions, new vehicles, beginning with Ford Kenya. There was a party and a movement against one-party state founded by Raila Odinga's father, Oginga Odinga there. In 1992, back from exile, joined Forum for the Restoration of Democracy. That is Ford, also viewed for the first time as MP and won Langata MP seat. Also, we have party split before first multi-party elections in 1992, leading to the formation of Ford Kenya and Ford Asili. Then he went to NDP as a leader there after quitting Ford Kenya, and formed National Democratic Party. In 1997, contested for the presidency, lost then, led merger between NDP and KANU. That is in 2001, 2002, served as Minister for Energy. From there, forms LDP. After leaving KANU, National Rainbow Coalition teams up with the National Alliance Party of Kenya, NAC, to form NAC, that is NAC NARC, that defeated Uhuru Kenyatta in 2002 poll. And then we have a coalition was formed after Raila fallout with Moi's KANU and rejection of Uhuru as Moi's successor. Then we have the Orange Movement. In 2005, Raila led Orange Camp in opposing the proposed constitution. Orange Movement was a key movement that led to the defeat of the 2005 referendum backed by Uhuru Kenyatta's KANU. Orange Democratic Movement Party was born out of a successful defeat of a 2005 referendum In 2007, Orange Movement split to form the Orange Democratic Party and Orange Democratic Party of Kenya, currently Wiper Democratic Movement. Vied, and I think this was a breakaway from when you had that altercation and we had Kalonzo moving away. I wish Senator Dan Mazo was here, because he's the one who took away with the certificate. All right, he vied for the presidency for the second time under ODM and was runners-up in 2007. In 2008, became Kenya's second prime minister. Then it goes on. National Super Alliance, that it was in 2017, vied for president on a NASA ticket and lost to Uhuru Kenyatta. Odinga successfully challenged Uhuru's victory in court. Win was declared null and void, forcing a repeat election. Odinga withdrew from election rerun. He went ahead to swear himself in as the people's president. National Resistance Movement, that was 25th of October 2017. Raila Odinga announces that NASA will become a resistance movement. An offshoot, the National Super Alliance, that is NASA, created the NRM as its resistance wing. Formed in 2017 after Raila Odinga refused to acknowledge the outcomes of the election and declare Uhuru's presidency illegitimate. In January 30th, 2018, Raila Odinga declared an alternative president, takes oath as people's president. Interior Ministry declared that his National Resistance Movement is an organized criminal group under the Prevention of Organized Crimes Act. Raila called for boycott of products and services from companies seen to be cozy with Uhuru Ruto regime. Uhuru-Raila handshake leads to formation of Azimio. In 2018, Raila Uhuru decided to reconcile and shook hands before millions of Kenyans. Handshake leads to death of National Resistance Movement. Now, Movement for Defense of Democracy. That will be the new lexicon in the political cap of Raila Odinga. This is MDD. Follows Raila Odinga 2022 presidential election loss. United Democratic Alliance's William Ruto defeated Azimio La Umoja candidate Raila Odinga in poll. 5th February 2023, Raila unveils Youth Resistance Movement. Movement key figures include former and current university leaders revealed during the launch that they were fighting for the return of democracy in Kenya. Formation of movement follows Raila declaration that Ruto is an illegitimate president. And there you have brief history, not really brief, but actually going through the full circle of how Raila Odinga has navigated the political choppy waters here in the country. So, is democracy under threat that now we need to have this formation, MDD, Defense of Democracy? From your own assessment.
Yeah, to me, all they have read is what I would call consistency.
Consistency.
But, yeah, this is consistent. I mean, the names may change, but the objective is actually still about democracy. We started when there was, when we wanted to repeal Section 2A. It has moved when we repealed Section 2A. Then we wanted things to be run in a democratic manner. And if you are leading that, it's actually logical that you should fight to be in a position to do it. And if you don't get it, then you ensure that what you wanted is maintained. Democracy stays, governance is okay. If it's not done and you are not in that leadership, then you fight for it. So to me, it is really extremely consistent. So we now come to this and we come to Azimio. The election went on as they went, and now we have a lot of information indicating that things didn't go as democratically as we think. You may believe the whistleblower or you may not believe the whistleblower, but there is some information beyond that. But now that we have this government going on, and you can actually see what is happening, everything is politicized, even tax. Let's start with tax.
We'll go to tax. Let's just
say that. Okay, so that one, you look at the issue of tax. You look at the issue of cases in court. We have a situation where somebody is saying, we have a DPP that is saying, I was forced to do these things. Now, I'm now doing them. I'm now reversing them. You can't be sure whether he was being forced then or he's being forced now. So you see promises that are not actually being fulfilled. the cost of food is going up, the cost of energy is up. Now for the first time in my life, I've had the cost of water going up. Now I'm worried.
The cost of water by 78%?
Yeah, I'm worried that the next thing we are going to go up or to start charging is air.
All right. No, we'll come to taxes.
In that position,
just a moment.
You must remember, all politics is about governance and the welfare of the people. You cannot divorce it. That you want to discuss political processes alone without linking with how is it affecting people's lives. Because it is how it's affecting people's lives that should be the major motivation for the process you want. So if you now feel, and you
thank you.
I get a feeling that there's going to be a lot of high-handedness the way things are done. And at that time, if you're in a position, then you must come up and say, we are going to defend, you are not going to go that way. So we must defend democracy.
So, you know, they will always say democracy is such a mirage. You cannot really attain and grasp democracy. When you want to actually grab a democracy, it eludes you. But he talks of consistency.
Yes.
But would we say this is political expediency of Raila Odinga? Because all these vehicles he's used is for his political posture and existence. Is it about democracy at the end of the day? Maybe we'll say democracy was when we were transitioning from, you know, from the single party system to pluralism that we're in, multi-party system that we're in. That is when he was the bastion of democracy. But for now, it's just about political survival.
No, I think democracy is work in progress, especially in Africa. Africa all the time runs the risk of going back to dictatorship. Why do I say so? Look at West Africa. There are 5 countries which have had coup d'etat for the last couple of years. This therefore means that democracy is on serious assault. Even within the region of East Africa, there are some of the entities that have been in town much longer than they should. While we say Tanzania, Kenya, we are talking of 2 terms. Rwanda is another case. Uganda is also another serious case. And therefore, some of the players in this town or in Kenya are the same people who interact with their colleagues in East Africa. And if we don't rein them in, they have a tendency of overstaying their invitation. And therefore, what the role Raila has played since he entered politics cannot be overstated. He has done it, maybe for himself or for any other person, but overall, this country has benefited out of that. If it was not for Raila, we would not be sure that most of the changes that took place would have taken. But he has sacrificed. He is the only one who could have won the presidency in 2002. But I remember in the house of the late Joe Bomino, he told us, yes, NAK you might win, LDP we might win, but if we don't coalesce our forces so that we do not allow KANU to rig elections, because by then, even with 30%, you could win the election. It was not like now that we are talking of 50% plus 1 vote. And it was convincing because as in NAK, we thought we were strong enough. We did not need LDP. And the LDP team also, there were some diehards who were saying, no. Hardliners, rather, who were saying, no, we don't need NAK. We're inviting KANU through their back door. So eventually we agreed, and that is how we formed this National Rainbow Coalition. So democracy is under assault all the time, especially in Africa, because we don't seem to conform with any standard of democracy. We talk of public participation. The public must be informed, and the decision the public makes must be respected. But look at all these elections. Every election, there is always fiddling. You may not have substantial information, but you can see some of the information we didn't have are now emerging that people are fiddling with elections.
Right.
So it's dangerous. But now, I think the fellow who compiled has forgotten 2013, because that is when there was another coalition between Fort Kenya.
The Pentagon.
Not Pentagon. Pentagon was
Yes,
2007.
2007.
Yeah.
2013. Okay, I'm trying to just scroll
It's
through.
not there.
It
Yeah.
was, what formation was there?
It was the one. Was it called?
Yeah, COD.
Yeah.
COD.
Yeah. That, well, they have forgotten
Yeah.
that. The one between Fort Kenya, ODM.
NASA. It was COD before NASA.
NASA is 2017.
Yeah, NASA is 2017. Before that, NASA we had COD.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But since now you're talking about Raila Odinga being, you know, a bastion of democracy, fighting for this country as it is,
Yes.
we have the same elements that we had with the NRM, that is a National Resistance Movement.
Yes.
We have, then they were not actually wearing, they were wearing some berets. We didn't have some fatigues. Yeah, if we have youth now who are donning fatigues right now, what does it really portend? What are you trying to tell Kenyans, that we in a war?
No.
What does it portend for the security of this country, so to speak, right now?
No, it's mobilization. You know, you see, you can decide to wear a yellow shirt if you are in UDA, or you wear a red one if you are in Jubilee. Now, this is now a movement that encompasses all these parties. And we are looking for a common...
And under what framework will we be working?
It is a movement.
Yeah, but a movement, at least you know how you'll be actually working under this framework.
Yes.
Is it going to be rally? Are you going to protest like NRM and boycotting that we know it's up to the collective sleeves? Yeah. Are we going to be having an installation, again, of the people's president? Because you've not acknowledged that William Ruto is a president of his country. And this is the same statement that were tripping off his tongue in 2017. So are we likely to just have the same scenario, the same script being played out?
Well, I think we'll be rushing too fast. What we are doing is that we are trying to rein in bad manners that has been exhibited by the ruling class in all aspects, including the cost of living, including the issue of taxation, weaponizing it, and any other excesses that we feel it is not within the framework of true democracy that we have enjoyed in the past. So as whether it will move into something different from what we know, that is also we allow time to tell. But we are not a movement that is illegal. It is within the framework of Kenya that you are allowed to picket, you are allowed to demonstrate, you are allowed to call in barazas, and clothing is a way of trying to exemplify the kind of force that you possess, potentially. Yep.
All right, let's hear from...
Well, I'll just say it is mobilization. When you are mobilizing people, there are ways you do it. And if you have young people in it, there are ways you do it. If you have a party, if you have any movement, you always have a youth wing, you have the main structure, you have the women wing, and so on. So when you have the youth wing, there's a way that you mobilize the youth. It's totally different from a way that you are going to mobilize the elderly team or the older people, and the way you are going to mobilize women. So when you see the red berets, and you must have a clear sign, you must have a call, and the clarion call is now a defense of democracy because of the way things are going. And you are wondering, you are asking questions. Apart from saying this government is not legitimate, there are a lot of things that are happening. He has talked about the weaponization of tax. Now we are talking the sales or the sale of state operations, and the prices are going up, and you are looking at these things that are really not proper. So you must give clear information. If you looked at the speech in Kibera, there are certain things that we said, these are not acceptable. If those things start being corrected, then of course you can't say, okay, we can slow down a bit, we can see how things are going. If you're being hard, then it gets harder and harder. You start with rallies. If it comes to demonstrations, so be it. It also depends on how the other side reacts to the desire to do things in in the proper way. So I wouldn't want to see it and say I can predict the way it is going to go. It depends on how this is actually handled. So to me, it is a movement, and worldwide what we talk about, if you want democracy, or if you want freedom, it is eternal vigilance. It is not just when, say, you are fighting for independence that you talk of eternal independence. Even when you are actually governing yourself, you still look for the independence of the people, the independence of institutions, so that things work. And you must be eternally vigilant. As he said, dictatorship, if allowed, grows. So if you have internal vigilance, you nab it. People say, no, we can't go that direction. You want to reach a situation where people who are governing sit and say, you know, guys, the way things are going, people are pointing out these things. We can't do that. We can't go that way. Now, that is what you intend. And if you look meek and you just want to go and pray about it, then it will be taken for granted. But if you say, we are ready, if you want more, we will give more. But we do what we think is good for the governance of this country.
Right. Yeah. We had Honorable Kirwa, you're talking about coalescing,
yes.
You know, the parties around you. It seems also you're not really on the same page as Azimio with other parties inside Azimio.
Cool.
It might be left that in Azimio, ODM will stay intact. Wiper, they've been also having some, scruples about Azimio itself. Jubilee, as it is, it seems we don't know if Jubilee will actually be there for the longer haul. Their membership also seems to be dwindling. They've moved out from the Jubilee headquarters, saying, "Oh, we're going to a more serene and quiet place." These are all hallmarks of actually the crumbling of Azimio. If you may look at the coalitions that you're talking about within Azimio.
Management of political parties is dynamic, and at times they say cut your coat according to your cloth. You see, Jubilee was the ruling party for the last 5 years. Now that they are not in the ruling coalition and their numbers might have gone down, they have also to adjust to see where they can best fit. But remember, the SG of Jubilee has been very clear that they are fully in Azimio and they are working together with the other coalition partners. I met the other day, I met Eugene Wamalwa, the leader of DAP, and DAP, and he's fully in Azimio, and he's been attending the rallies. And there are consultations among these political entities for purposes of ensuring that we take over the next government. You see, we are also preparing for the next election, 2027. We are not just saying that the current regime is going to be there for 10 years. That's why elections are held, for the electorate to say whether they are happy with those in power or to decide differently. And therefore, we must all the time consult, and as we consult, things will change. And even on the other side, Kenya Kwanza, we are focused on our side for good reasons. We are being fought by the ruling coalition so far, but they are teething problems. William Ruto wants them to move into one monolithic party, and yet other entities are not willing to give in to that kind of suggestion. So we know our team is intact, we are strong, focused, and ready for elections in a time. Yep.
All right, we're going to take a short break right now. When we circle back, of course, we'll look at the raft of issues that are coming up regarding also the taxation with the new bill that will be floated in the Senate by Senator Cherargei. People were saying this was ill-informed as far as the estate or exemption of estate duty is concerned. When we circle back, we continue with that and more. Don't go away. Also, looking at the World Wetlands Day, which is today, very critical when we are talking about the suppressed rains. We've had also